Welcome to Attention Retention with Jackie McManus, your source for the latest trends in transportation recruitment and retention.
Welcome to Attention Retention. I'm your host, Jackie McManus, and today we have two incredible guests on the show. Joining us is Amber and Lainey from EnviroTech. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we recently had the pleasure of connecting. It's been about a month now at Women in Trucking in the Accelerate Conference in Dallas, and really excited to dive into the 3 R's, recruiting, retention, and recognition. From what I saw from EnviroTech, on my perspective, an outsider perspective, you guys have such a strong focus on employee career growth and development, aligning individual talents with their interests. The company's commitment to fostering a robust culture and paving career paths for team members is really, truly outstanding. And Amber and Lainey, before we dive into the 3 R's, could you both just share a little bit about yourself and your journey into working with and for EnviroTech?
Yeah. Amber, I'll let you go first. Sure. I'm the marketing manager at EnviroTech Services. I've been here, just had my 4-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've surpassed the 3-year mark that they say is when we seem to
That's what they say.
People better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good spot. But
yeah.
I've enjoyed my journey the whole time I've been here. I've been able to really been empowered to do what needs to be done in the department and for my team, and what's best for the company. And anytime I've needed additional assistance or training or, courses or something like that, they've been 100% backing for whatever I feel that I need to get the job done to be what's best for EnviroTech. So I consider myself to have the fun job. I get to do all the marketing fun things and work with the entire company. And so I get to know everybody here, and most people like marketing people. So I feel
that's very accurate. Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. You're in a good seat.
Yeah. But I love all of the people that we work with. Really, one of the things that we claim when we have our interviews with new candidates is if I were to go out to have a beer, I could go and have that with anybody in the company. There's not a single person here I wouldn't like to spend time with. So that's one of the focuses we do like to put in on our culture is who can we see ourselves after hours with.
Who can you hang out with after hours and enjoy and have good times and be able to, get through the hard times together, right? It's all about that relationships. That's that's incredible. And 4 years, that is a milestone, especially in today's world. Think about our grandparents or even our parents. They've been in, they've worked for the same company for 20 something years. And with our generation, it's so different. So 4 years it's like a lifetime almost. So that's amazing. And Lainey, I'd love to hear about your story.
Yeah. So I officially had my 1-year anniversary with EnviroTech.
Congrats.
Very young. And I honestly, I could echo so much of what Amber said. It's such a community feeling here. I feel like I've known these people forever. And I have only known them for a year, but they've been so supportive. I actually moved to Colorado to be a part of this team. And
awesome.
so be 500 miles away from my closest family member. They create really good relationships here, especially with Amber. She's been a really good mentor and helped kind of welcome the ESI family. So it's been great.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I'm excited. Now, Lainey, did you come from a trucking company, or were you in the industry prior?
This is my first foray into kind of like logistics. I have a laboratory background. I was with Kroger for about 12 years.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did a little bit in the medical world, and now I am in logistics. Honestly, I love it. It's so fast paced, and there's always something that needs to be taken care of. So
that's it.
Yep.
That's great. That's incredible. And we were just talking beforehand. I'd love to share this with the audience about, meeting at Women in Trucking and seeing the growth with, women within the industry, because, it's not only women that we're trying to bring on the industry, but we're also trying to gain more awareness to other folks that are outside of the industry. we're not going away. 76% of what we eat, drink, wear comes on a truck and is essential. And so having folks that, get brought into the industry, and I'm going to tell you this, Lainey, once you get the trucking bite, you're in. You're never leaving. It stays with you. Well, great. Well, let's dive right into the 3 R's, recruitment, retention, and recognition. I want to start by talking about recruiting, kind of the front end of the hiring experience. And I'd love to know from you both, what are the more successful approaches that you found to attracting and recruiting talent?
Yeah. I think our biggest recruitment tool is our ability to utilize our current employees for referrals. We have so many here who have referred amazing candidates that have come to join our team, whether it's a spouse or a sibling. It could be a niece or a nephew, or even just a friend. Honestly, we have great people that work for us, and they tend to recruit great people, which just enhances our team even more.
Yeah. Referrals is the number one and one of the best ways to obtain talent, especially too if it's, again, a family member, a friend, because they're hearing it from the horse's mouth, right? They're hearing it directly how it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's also a big point to talk about. And I'd love to hear from your perspective. Essentially, on the advertising end, and Amber, this is your wheelhouse. We need to advertise the big shiny picture, right? We want the nice truck, we want the driver there, we want to showcase all the benefits. But what I like to know is, what does your overall recruitment process look like? What does that connection look like when a new driver applies? Are they speaking to a recruiter immediately? Does the recruiter take the time to get to know them before offering the position?
Yeah. So I can kind of speak a little bit to that. So anybody, regardless of the position, I am going to be their first point of contact. So I go through and screen all of our resumes. We don't have any kind of automation that helps out. It's just me. And sometimes my teammates will help me out. But I'm going to be their first point of contact, reaching out, kind of just walking through the position that they've applied for, letting them know that we're interested in them. We see potential in their skill set. And then we go into kind of our culture fit interview. So that's our first with any candidate who applies. We're going to meet with myself and then 2 members of our culture fit team. Good shine of about 12 people on that team throughout the company, and they're based out of all different offices throughout the U.S. So it's really a whole team effort to make sure that the people that we're interviewing are going to align with our values, and they're going to be teammates that we want to work with.
That's incredible. And to be honest, I have not heard of a culture fit interview. Yeah, we X amount of years, and we work with, 50, 60 trucking companies on the recruitment advertising side. So I absolutely love that you guys have that. Now, is that a formal sit down with you and the candidate and a couple other folks?
Yeah. So we typically do them over Microsoft Teams, so like a Zoom meeting.
Yep.
And it's really, so when I started, I was probably one of the first people who went through that because it is a newer process for us.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of a way to kind of get inside their head and see kind of their value system that they operate from, and see if kind of they're going to share our mindset and our values, and if they're going to be a good fit to kind of help us continue on the path that we're on for growing our business and giving back to our communities.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because you guys have a slogan that I really loved. And it kind of hits the head on how your company feels about their team members, their teammates, and it's around people, right? Yep. So it's essentially that people helping people improve their environment. So that sums up the type of people that you want to bring on, and that you're also giving back, right? And that's a really big piece. Now, given this challenging hiring environment, and the competitive nature of recruiting alone, how does your company differentiate itself to stand out as an attractive employer?
Yeah. I definitely think that comes back into how we approach recruiting, and we put such a heavy emphasis on finding the right people, that culture fit, and I actually had a really good conversation with my boss about our recruiting, and with the candidates that we bring in, by the time they get to the culture fit, our team kind of knows that I've signed off on this person, that I think that their skill sets are going to match. But it's so important when we go from that culture fit interview, the candidates that we pass through to the hiring team, that they know just because we think this person is going to fit with the company, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to fit within your role. And making sure that each part of the recruiting team feels empowered to make the decision that's going to be best and impact their team the best.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, just like all the way through. And one thing I read about your company was on one of your LinkedIn posts, but I really love the onboarding process that you guys have around new employee orientation, NEO. And can you talk about that with the audience and discuss it a little bit more in detail and how that contributes to creating a welcoming environment for new hires?
Yeah.
I guess, do you want to speak on that a little bit?
I could talk a little bit. There's one of the great things about the NEO or new employee orientation is we find it to be really important to make sure that when these new employees come on board, they feel informed. They know what the company is about. They know what the different departments are about. And so a lot of that orientation really starts off with a presentation from a department head from a majority, if not all of the departments in the company. Everybody comes in and shares, where they are, where they've come from, where they're going, and the full rounded explanation to get them informed on what this piece of it means. And then we have another location near the Greeley office here in Evans that is our kind of flagship plant. And we make sure and get all of the new employees out there for a tour and more presentations. And so they get a tour of the plant, and that plant is a really good example of what a lot of our other plants are mimicking in other states, other locations. And so it's a good spot for people to see just the dynamic and how big the company is and what all we do and what all goes into it. The operations on that side is very robust. Yeah, so it's a great introduction in person, touching, hands-on, and seeing all of that. And then we have to mix up the business side and all the learning side with, there's a lunch there, there's breakfast brought in. We don't ever starve our employees. So much.
Can I join it? Yeah.
Starving, we haven't done a good job. But there's but then the evenings are usually wrapping up with an opportunity for the new employees to meet a lot of the current employees.
Is that right?
Not just the department leads. And so we'll go do axe throwing, bowling.
Fine.
What are some
planning at
escape room? So there's activities that we're doing with the new employees so that it's that time that current employees and the new people can really all let our hair down together, just enjoy some after hours time together. And that's really when so much of that mingling, networking, getting to know people happens, and they feel so welcomed at that point.
I can imagine.
One of the new employees that we had 2 NEOs ago mentioned to me during axe throwing, and I asked him if I could use his quote on social media or something at some point, and he was like, yeah, that's fine. He was like, most companies just do a pizza party or something. You guys do everything. He's like, we're doing axe throwing, we're doing pizza party, he's like, you guys are feeding us all the time. You guys give us free stuff. Like we make sure that they have like the mug, the pen, a shirt, all of the things that make them feel welcome, like they're a part of the team, that they belong here, and that we're excited that they're going to be a part of our group.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And I think like during, it's great how much technology has evolved, and, we leverage that 100%. But there's something still so special about being live in person. And with a driver specifically, spending all of their time on the road and maybe not in with, everyone else in office, the fact that you guys take that extra time, especially within the first 90 days, to bring them into corporate, have them not only meet, folks that they're working with, but other parties, to understand how the whole company works. and then building that camaraderie, that team building, at axe throwing, which is so fun. A lot out that way, or like an escape room, right? You're building this sense of culture within that first 90 days, and that's typically where a lot of companies see a high turnover, because they bring on a driver and they maybe have a couple touch points, but then they're pushed into dispatch, and they don't really have that, that relationship. So they're going to have a wandering eye. And that's, once you're building that relationship, and it's so important within those first 90 days, 6 months, especially a year, to build that strong commitment together. So let's then dive into retention, because we're going right in there right now. Retention, it's a two-way relationship, right? And your company's commitment to a strong culture is evident. Can you discuss anything besides the program we discussed? Any employee engagement initiatives or programs that you have for folks that maybe have been with your company for close to a year, or drivers that have been with you guys for more than a year?
Yeah. We have several different engagement opportunities, as far as we do a monthly happy hour for folks.
Fun.
Just kind of, yes. We have a really good time, especially at this all year end. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just opportunities to come connect, and it doesn't have to be so work driven, but to come as who you are, know that you're here because we want you to be a part of our team. I feel like that personal connection, because we are a fairly small company, about 130 full-time employees, be able to kind of have that one-to-one and check in. Hey, how's the family? How are the kids?
Yes.
How's that project that you were working on at home? Just to have that personal connection, I think goes so far. And I can kind of pat my own back. I know we're at an 85% retention rate right now. So
congratulations.
Yes, and it's
from the Echo Chops. We are going to be marketing that from this podcast for sure. 5% retention rate. So you're telling me the industry that typically has 70 to 90% turnover, you guys are only about 15%.
Yeah. And that's, we're annualized over the last 12 trailing with 85% retention. It seems like once we get people in that fit our culture, they want to be a part of this team. That's what we aim for. We don't want to be just another job on your resume. We want to be the place that you come, you work your career with people who care about you, and this is the company that you retire from. And I think that mindset is what we try to give to everybody, and I think that speaks a lot to why our retention is so high.
Yeah, that speaks volumes. And by all the work that you guys do in the front end, before they even sign on, as far as the culture fits, the interview process, all the work that you do laying to get to know that candidate, really that time that it takes to set that up successfully is clearly showcased in your numbers with that high retention rate across the board. So double kudos to you on that. That's huge. And as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's all over the website, but about how your company really crafts individual career plans for all employees, which I think is incredible, because career growth is something that is essential, especially as we're targeting the next generation. Culture is their first and foremost biggest priority. Money, I think, is number 2 or number 3. And they also want to be, praised and make sure that they're seeing a clear career path. So can you talk to us more about your professional development and career growth that you guys do, and how that ties back to retaining talent?
Absolutely. So I think our president says it best. He says development and change, they're not optional. So we do everything we can as far as personal and professional development to help folks kind of reach the goals that they want to meet. Whether that's, we have a driver who's happy being a driver and that's all they want to do.
Yep.
We're going to help you maintain any endorsements that you need, anything that can help you be the best driver possible. And, if someday comes and you wanted get more into dispatch, or you are in marketing and you want to go into finance. We're going to do what we can to help make that possible, whether that's Amber is our marketing manager working with our finance controller to help get some shadow time, work on some shared projects, have a continuing education budget. Yeah, there we go. A budget to help so that folks who want to, enroll in different courses have the opportunity to do so. I have a driver who actually just applied to take a welding course so that workers need some repair work in the springtime and in the summer when we're using them the most. We have that opportunity that he can work on them in-house and we don't have to send them out, which, gives back to the company, but it also gets another certification under his belt so that he has that option to grow into different opportunities should something arise.
That's incredible. And yeah, in an industry where, I think I said this earlier, but, you got bit by the trucking bug, you typically stay in that. And I've been in the industry personally for 17 years, and I didn't grow up in the industry whatsoever. I just happened to work for a truck driver staffing agency in 2007, and 2008, 2009 happened. It was a financial crisis, and this company was doubling its size. And I realized quickly, this is the industry I want to be in, right? We're growing while everything was, there were trucking companies that obviously struggled, but while everything was really struggling. And then it became evident again during COVID. I know a lot of my friends that are outside of the industry, they were sitting on the couch. They were unemployed, where our industry was moving. We are the essential workers. So showing that importance of not only bringing people in, but then once they're in, nurturing them to build upon what their goals and aspirations are. And, sometimes folks don't know what they don't know, right? So by your team taking the time to meet with them and understand exactly what their values are, what's their goals, so they want to buy a house with their wife or their husband, just goes back into that overall retention, which is really, really incredible. I want to jump in now to the third R, which is recognition, which is key, obviously, to satisfaction. And with an 85% retention rate, you guys know how to recognize and maintain that relationship with your drivers. But for our audience out there, let's peel back the layers of the onion a little bit. How do you cultivate a culture? I mean, there's a lot that's out there now on, it's about culture, right? And we talked a lot about that, but what are some tactful steps that some folks could take if they want to try to build a stronger culture? One.
You share speak a little more?
Yeah, I'll just, Okay. I think being intentional with the recognition is huge. I think seeing how important it is that an employee has been with the company for their 1 year mark, for their 2 year mark, for 5 year mark, any of those milestones coming up is really important to the company. And so not only does the manager and HR reach out to the employee and say, hey, congratulations on your 4-year anniversary, but let's go do lunch. Let's go get drinks as a group or something like that. So anniversaries within the company are really huge. There's always birthday things happening around the office as well. There's balloons in somebody's cubicle or their office or something obnoxious, but also really fun. And so, those kind of small things can really go a long way for a lot of people. In addition to that, we have an internal newsletter that we call The Loop. And this is an opportunity for our president to write a letter to the company to inform everybody of what's going on, what he has seen, what is working, what he's encouraging us to keep doing, some things that are coming down the pipeline. It's a really great letter that he introduces at the beginning of this newsletter. And then immediately following his letter is what we call a call out section. And this is where everyone in the company contributes just a shout out to somebody that they worked with, that they're like, hey, this person did a great job. So-and-so helped me fix my flat tire on my car. I'm grateful for this person. If it wasn't for them, I would have been stranded there for hours, whatever. And so it's a really great section in this newsletter that people will take the time and they'll type up a message about someone or a department or a group of people, and just say some really great things. And this newsletter, because I'm in marketing, and so we send that through our marketing CRM. We're able to see the open rate on that email sky high. I mean, it's
I can imagine.
Dial 80s oftentimes, and so
That's a dream for a marketer. Yeah.
yeah, it really helps all of my numbers boost them up, which is great. But
from one marketer to another, that's a dream. Yeah.
more importantly, the people in the company are reading this. It is hitting home for people, and they do find a lot of value in there. The other sections we have are on safety. How are we doing in our safety metrics? How are we doing in our company goals as a whole? Marketing always has an update. What's going on? We have a swag website where people can go and get apparel and stuff like that. So there's always updates on that. And then there's always a trivia question at the very bottom. I always tell people that they have to read the whole newsletter before they can answer. I think it's working because of my open rates are saying so, but it's just another opportunity for people to participate and see and then get something in return. So that internal newsletter has been really big in getting people informed and getting people engaged in a lot of ways. Otherwise, what else do you have to say on that a bit?
I think just the intentionality of the communication between our drivers and our dispatchers, because the drivers do report into the dispatcher. So making sure that they know on a daily basis what's going on, what changed, what could happen. And there's a lot of back and forth communication there because, our drivers are the ones out there talking to customers and navigating the routes that they use. So our ELD system has a routing software that we kind of are piloting to make sure that's something we want to use. And the feedback from our drivers, they play such a big part on
Is that right?
Move forward with that. And hey, this route worked and this one didn't, and things like that. But just the communication is big, and then knowing that just because they're out in the field, they're still such an integral part of our team. We actually just had a pretty big celebration across the regions to celebrate 1 year citation free, 1.2 million miles as no citations for youth.
Incredible.
Yes. We were literally so excited to be able to meet that mark with us.
Oh my God, absolutely. That's a huge accomplishment and a huge goal, and I'm sure that was in the newsletter as well. And that's a big party.
As a thank you to all of the drivers and the people involved in that side of the company, they decided to put together a nice big gift for them. They all got a really nice Carhartt lined coat.
Amazing.
We designed a patch that had like this little emblem for the citation free in 23. And so they all received this really nice coat as a thank you. And really it's less about, what the gift is and just more like the concept that we recognize the incredible work that you guys did. That is hard to do for how many drivers we have. For going a full year without any citations, that is hard work. And they were recognized for it, and they were gifted as a result. That was really incredible. So
that's incredible. And that was a specific region that had that 1.3.
All of our drivers
all of your drivers.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the entire company went citation free for the entire fiscal year.
Holy smokes. Okay, now that you say it, now that we talked that way, that's incredible. And it goes back to like the first front line of those interviews, right? And making sure it's a good culture fit, taking that extra time, recruiting that driver that's a good fit, or other personnel that's the good fit for your company, but specifically drivers is the focus. And really showing them and really walking the walk, right? I think, Amber, as you know, as a marketer, and you're probably looking at your competitors and looking at what they're advertising, a lot of people say it, but I know from when I sit, when I pull back those layers, it's not really there. And it's one thing to say that we recognize our drivers and we have a good culture versus actually, walking the walk. And for a newsletter, for example, I think that sometimes it's something that we have all of our clients that they need to implement that, always immediately. Because it sometimes feels like a big undertaking for, I think, and it can be, right? It can be. And so what is typically the frequency? Are you sending that out monthly, quarterly to your driver? Is that right? That's incredible.
Yeah. And to your point, that was one of the things when we decided to get into that. When I had a conversation with our president, that was his idea. He was like, I need to, people are saying they don't feel informed. How can we make them informed? He goes, I think we need to send out a monthly newsletter. And from there, it just really developed. And there was a number of people who had contributed ideas and who had helped with the content of each of those newsletters. And, people are to the point now where they're sending in what we call a water cooler section. If they went on vacation, they could send vacation pictures. If their kids are doing great things, they've got kid pictures in there. And so it's just a great way, again, for people to be engaged and be a part of it and just feel like they're not just a part of a company, but they're a part of a community, a family. Yeah. And, it feels like when we spend time together, it feels like we are a family.
Absolutely. And being able to make that commitment on a monthly basis. And sometimes what I recommend to clients is let's start small, right? And over time, it builds. It does. It builds. And you get more feedback. And when you're getting 80% open rates and positive feedback, you're going to put more time into that because it's very expensive to advertise these days, as we know. And, it's about taking that time to really nurture and retain the driver. So I know we discussed a lot today about EnviroTech, but can you guys just sum up why drivers should consider a career at your company?
It's going to sound like a cliche. So ESI really is a family. We take care of our own, whether that's, a new employee that just started with us or an employee who's retiring after 32 years. We take care of our own. It's going to be the communication and the culture and the respect that you would want from a family member, but you're getting paid to come hang out with us all day. So we hope that you like us if you're spending, as a driver, some of our drivers spend 60 hours a week with us. And we have some drivers who've been around, 15 plus years. So,
yeah. I will say, too, a lot of our drivers are very engaged and participating in taking photos and supplying them to marketing. And we have a daily update that goes out. Our receptionist puts out something that's just, what's happening, new employee. It's kind of an extension of the newsletter, and it's just on a daily basis and a small blip. It's usually even, here's the birthdays this month. Here's a funny comic she'll put out that's related to what's happening right now, or reminder we're closed for this day for this holiday or something. But they will send in photos of our trucks with a sunset or just a beautiful scenery or something. So we're asking them to also be engaged and participate. And this is what we're looking for. And I've begged for content from drivers as well. And some will participate and some like to hang out on the sidelines and just watch how things are going. But either way, they all seem to appreciate the work that we're doing. And, that shows based on that retention that we've been able to maintain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely is evident.
Yeah. The other thing I would add, and it's a comment that our president made when I went through new employee orientation, and it kind of just stuck with me, and I've made sure to ask him to share it every time he talks now. He told me that we have 3 groups of people that we serve, and this is in relation to our tagline of people helping people. So we have 3 groups that we serve, and order is important. Our employees are always going to be first, and then our customers, and then our partners. We can't get anywhere or get anything done without taking care of our employees.
That is a fabulous motto that I know this audience will truly appreciate, because it is about the people during, if your company is growing, you want to be a lifestyle type company and really develop those relationships, it comes down to the employees. And so with an 85% retention rate, I am just thrilled that you guys were able to share all of your knowledge and all the experience that you guys have to the industry. And how can folks get in touch with you, potential drivers or industry folks?
Absolutely. We always have all of our open positions posted on our website. You can go to EnviroTechServices.com and click on careers, and that'll show you any posting across the U.S. that we have open. But feel free to drop us an email off of the website as well. It'll get routed over to HR, and we're happy to connect if there's an opportunity.
And I will add too, Jackie, I mean, this is another episode, but one of the great things that EnviroTech has done for a number of years is our company week.
Yeah.
And talk about appreciation for employees, talk about getting people informed, training and new opportunities, getting new employees, networking with existing employees. Like, it is a week long of excellence. It is.
Is that right?
Coolest thing I have ever been a part of. I've had the privilege of being a part of 2 of them at this point.
Incredible. Yeah.
So again, if that's another episode or if you have time today, what are you?
Let's talk through that right now, because that's something that's very rare in the industry. So let's dive into that. Tell me more about this.
Yeah, really, with our industry, one of our biggest markets we serve is the de-icing, anti-icing business, and which is right now when most companies are planning their Christmas parties, holiday parties around this time of year. This is our busy season, and this is when we have to be everybody all in, then the ground, we're working. And so breaking away for a substantial Christmas party celebration like the company wants to do is just not an option right now. Mm-hmm. So instead, they decided to move it to one of our slower times of the year, which can typically be either springtime or kind of midsummer time.
Okay.
Between when we're gearing up for one or the other of our big market seasons. And but ultimately we shut the company down for an entire week, and we fly everybody from all other states. Every region comes to Greeley, Colorado. We put everybody up at the Doubletree Hotel here in town, downtown.
Incredible.
And everybody stays there from Monday through Friday. And everything's kicked off Monday afternoon, and it ends with a company night with a big dinner and some kind of entertainment, whether it be game nights, casino nights, music, a comedian, anything we can put together for the company night. That's kind of the final for that. But throughout the week, we offer a number of different trainings and presentations from different departments. What areas are we trying to really get information out in front of? Every year we have a theme, whatever the company's goal is for the year. That is what the theme is kind of that we're focused around. Right now, our theme is operational excellence. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the presentations were around what are these different departments doing in the direction of operational excellence? What are we doing to really facilitate that and put that action into motion? And so there's a lot of information shared at that time. There's lab demonstrations, there's safety engagement and demonstrations, and then a lot of networking. A lot of fun happens during that time. It's a great balance. We have a cornhole tournament, and we reached the final there. That has built up to be a huge fun.
A little competitive.
Yeah, competitive. And a lot of just meals together, like mingling. You know, one of the tasks that our president puts out there is sit with somebody you don't normally sit with. Don't sit with your team members or people that you know really well. Try to get to know other people. And when you go out for lunch, when you go out for dinner, for drinks or whatever, then try to incorporate other people that you don't normally get to see. Go out with other regions. And, you know, what else can you learn about those people and the things that they're doing? And, you know, great things come from that after hours networking. And so again, the effort that's put into that, the committee plans about a year out.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a ton of work that they put into it. It is a combined effort on everybody's part. It's just huge. And the feedback we get from people who've never attended one of those is phenomenal. And they're just like, I can't imagine if you're sending us an employee plus their spouse. We're inviting them to come with them for the week. They can participate in some of the meetings and some of the events.
Of course.
We bring in one big speaker that we will bring in from outside of the company, motivational or inspirational type speaker. And it's just a phenomenal opportunity. So a lot of the things we like to not really brag about, but really get people excited about is Company Week. And we only do it every other year because it's so special.
So big.
We want to make it that more exciting when it does come around. So like I said, Company Week is a huge thing around here. And I would love to see other companies do the same kind of thing. That's pretty easy if you'd like, but really put an effort into being intentional with your employees.
That is incredible. And, Amber, Lainey, you hear, there's other industries that do Company Weeks, and typically it's only at the executive level or it's only at the leadership level, right? They're going somewhere to do a 3 to 5 day event, but they're not bringing in the inclusivity of the entire organization plus their spouses. Especially in trucking, right? Like that is something, in the 17 years I've been in this industry, I haven't heard of for the entire organization for a full week. And I do love that you guys do it on every other year basis because you're keeping a standard and a quality, I'm sure, with doing it every other year versus diluting that quality, and you plan out so far in advance. You can let your customers know, let the employees know, let them plan around that. And I'm sure the enthusiasm leading up to it and then post, it's just enormous. Making so many new friends that was with your company that you didn't realize you would connect with because you didn't have that time. I absolutely love that. And I think that just goes back to show from leadership, and that is a trickle down, right? It's throughout everyone in that organization that they really believe in the culture and what you're doing, and that's what's going to retain and keep your drivers. That's incredible. I'm so glad you brought that up, Amber. That is a huge, incredible thing that I think I'd love to see other trucking companies do in some form, right? Because the Christmas parties are great, but they're expected, and it kind of dilutes it. But I think one word that you guys kept bringing up that I really appreciate was intentional. Intentional about your marketing. You're intentional about your hiring process. You're intentional about your onboarding. Intentional about the yearly, the company week, and that's a really important word that might be the headline of this podcast, because it is so true that when folks really go into something with that intention, it's different than being it's more proactive versus the reactive, and your employees see a difference completely across the board. It's bad listening. It definitely working. Now, I'd love to ask you two, as we wrap up, what would you say for both of you? What were some of the most important, the most important lessons that you've learned in your career?
In my career as a whole?
The home.
Say yes to opportunities.
Love that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And this going to, I don't know.
What?
I have no idea what I would say.
Be open to.
I would say be open to opportunity. It doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone. So don't turn something down just because it's not something your friend or a family member or somebody else would do.
That's good. And that's why 3 of us are in the trucking industry.
Yeah.
Right? We said yes.
You said yes.
We say yes, but we're open. It's not the most glamorous industry in the world, but it's essential.
Oh, it's things that we learn. If we've never tried it and we say no, you'll never try it. If you have never tried it and you say yes, that's your opportunity.
There it is. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber and Lainey, for being on Attention Retention today, and joining us for this really insightful podcast. We covered so many amazing topics, and really excited for our audience to hear about the culture and all the opportunity that's available to other companies to really take that time intentionally and recruit in a specific manner that will lead to a higher retention rate. It's absolutely outstanding what you guys are doing there at EnviroTech, and I know our listeners will definitely get a lot of insightful nuggets that they could take and bring to their company, and then drivers are going to be listening to this as well. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to share this knowledge with your peers at Industry College. Your sharing makes a difference, and together we can empower the industry to thrive. Until next time, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie.
you.
We appreciate the opportunity.